Hello and welcome to the weekly wind-up with me, Helen Ashcroft. Now I have to say, the weather over the bank holiday left an awful lot to be desired, but not at the moment. Things have changed and people have turned the central heating off, taken off the coats and actually headed for the gardens. Isn't it wonderful then to see the things that you've planted grow, blossom, with the thought that eventually, as far as the vegetables and fruit are concerned, you can actually impress family and friends with a casual, "Oh, I grew this." And my guest today, I'm pleased to say, is Brian. And Brian, welcome to the show. Now, tell me why you're here.
I'm here to answer any questions that you ask on allotments.
Allotments? Right, so you have an allotment?
I have.
In a specific area? Are we talking about, where's your allotment?
Linley.
Right, so is it because I don't know much about allotments, I have to say.
Well, most allotments in Kirklees are 200 square metres.
So there are allotments throughout Kirklees?
There are 1900 allotments in Kirklees. Those are on 100 sites. The garden at home isn't big enough to grow vegetables, etc., etc. And a lot of people get an allotment, and I have a very good friend who lives on his own and is very, very bored at home. But the minute he comes to the allotment, he's got people to talk to, he's enjoying himself and he's relaxed, but he can't relax at home.
I like that idea. So you grow vegetables on your allotment? Yeah. Is that the same for everybody? Is that what allotments
grow whatever you want, within reason, of course.
Okay.
All sorts of vegetables, fruit, but no chickens on ours. There are some chickens allowed on some Kirklees allotments, but not on ours.
Right. Okay, now the only programme that I have seen is the Great Allotment Challenge, I think, that was on BBC Two.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So they were given a piece of land, well, soil, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just bare. Is that what happens? Is that what you're given?
Well, yes, I suppose so. What you're really given is 200 square metres.
Okay.
And in most instances that you need quite a bit of work done on the allotment before you can start.
Such as?
Well, dig all the weeds out.
Okay.
Sort it all out, from square one really, some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are really poor, but some of them are quite good.
Okay.
The chap that was next to me, he's just had to move to Leeds to live, and a guy's taken over his, and it was perfect when he took it over.
Right.
Unfortunately, he's been there about 3 weeks and he started planting.
Right. So that's good.
Very.
So can you put structures on there?
Yes. You can put a shed and a greenhouse with planning permission. If there was one there when you moved in, and it was derelict, for want of a better description, and you wanted to replace it, you wouldn't need to get permission.
Right.
But if there isn't a shed at all, you have to apply for permission to put one up.
And is it easy to do that?
Oh, very.
Good, good. Now, I have to say, there's an awful lot of people that nowadays seem to be moving into flats and apartments.
Yeah.
And of course, they don't have any garden whatsoever. How do they go about finding about an allotment, and how much does it cost?
The yearly rent for an allotment in Kirklees is £24, believe it or not.
Wow.
It's as cheap as that.
It is.
And for OAPs over 65, over 65s, I think it's half that.
Right.
And that includes water, so you've no problems at all.
So, do you have a tap on your allotment itself?
Yes, we do. On ours, we have one tap every 2 allotments.
Right.
So in other words, we've got 20 plots and we've got 10 taps.
Okay. So I know that the cost of the rent now. How do you go about applying, and is that straightforward to apply for one?
Yes, it is fairly simple. You go onto the Kirklees website, Kirklees allotment website,
right.
And if you put your postcode in, they will tell you then which site is nearest to you. And also an application form you can print off. Right. Fill that in, send it to the address on the form, and they will give you a reply in due course.
And so when they reply to you, do you get a certificate? Do you get a badge? What do you
just get reply and say there isn't a waiting list, and if you want to meet the secretary, you go and meet the secretary on the plots. Or if there's a waiting list, they'll put you on the waiting list, and the secretary will contact you as and when one becomes vacant.
So allotments are so popular that some actually have waiting lists?
Very much so.
Really?
Yes, the good sites, and a definition of a good and a bad site is one that hasn't been very well looked after, and there are some. But if you get a number of allotment sites where most of them are really well looked after,
Yes.
there is usually a long waiting list.
And how long's long? A year?
No. As an example, there are 2 allotment sites in Linley.
Yes.
One has a waiting list, I think, of 17, and on the one I'm on, I think we've got 16 or 17 on ours at the moment
16 or 17?
on the waiting list.
Right.
We have 20 plots
Okay.
on both sites,
Yes.
and the change hands about 2 a year if you're lucky.
My goodness, so you could be
But
waiting years.
yes, but it's very difficult to describe this, because when you get a vacancy on the allotments, you ring the people, the next on the waiting list, and they'll say, oh no, I've already got an allotment
Right.
somewhere else. And it goes on. And the last time we had a vacancy, I got down to number 7 on the waiting list before there was anyone interested. They'd either moved house, got an allotment site somewhere else,
Yeah.
one had died, or they just weren't any longer interested.
Right.
So,
So it is worth going on a waiting list
oh,
then?
absolutely, yes. I was on it for 4 years,
Really? So how long did you say that you'd had yours for?
20 years just over.
20. So you're a bit of a Percy thrower then?
Well, I think that's getting a bit carried away.
I don't.
However large or small your business, attracting new customers requires dedication and a lot of patience. Just like fishing, but you also need the right gear. Rods,
reels, lines, hooks, sinkers, lures, tackle box, tackle bag, net, bait, gaff, gloves, clothes, pocket knife, lunch.
or you could simply advertise with KLTV. Online, grow your business and your clientele. KLTV, your vision made reality. Should have gone to KLTV.
So what do you enjoy growing the most?
Strawberries
Really?
and peas.
Do you? I have to say that when my gran and my old auntie, they used to be home gardeners, and they had a garden that was big enough to grow produce, and the strawberries and the peas tasted so much better than the shop.
Oh, there's no question.
No.
Everything you grow tastes much better than the shop. A, because it's fresh. You don't use any of this rubbish that they put on. I mean, if you grow a lettuce on an allotment and you take it home, it might last a week or
Yeah.
10 days if you're very lucky. Buy one at one of the supermarkets and take it home,
Yeah.
and it'll last for ages and ages and ages, because there's that much insecticides and
Yes.
etc. on that
But the
it
taste is
preserves them.
totally
But
different.
The taste is completely different.
Yeah. So I'm going to test you if that's all right, because I think with all this experience you might be able to answer a few questions.
Fire away.
We have had a viewer contact us with some questions, but before I start with hers, I've got one. I have a hosta plant, okay, my garden, and every year without fail my hosta tries to grow. And every year without fail snails appear, and there are hundreds of them, and I go out and I put slug pellets down, but now I've got a dog, obviously they're poisonous for dogs, but the snails are going to destroy my hosta and I do like it. What can I do?
Well, with it being at home, it's easier than being on the allotment, because what you do is you wait until it's dark, get a torch and go outside and take the salt pot.
Okay.
And just put salt on all the slugs that you can find.
Right.
They won't be there in the morning.
Okay, so now we have some questions from one of our viewers, Stephanie, who's been kind enough to contact us. And so what I would like to ask you, are you ready for this?
Yep.
Is how about the people who have planted tomatoes in a cold greenhouse? Will this unusual weather affect them? Because it is unusual, isn't it?
It is, yes. It shouldn't do, provided... I think the easiest way to answer the question is what I've done. I planted tomatoes early this year, not knowing it was going to be frosty at night, etc. So I covered them up every night and put some heat in the greenhouse. And even a couple of candles. You'd be surprised how much difference it makes. And provided you can keep the frost off, they'll be okay.
So the candles, I mean, nowadays you can buy them in the jar.
Yeah, mine's about like that.
Are they the pillar candles, or are they actually in a jar?
No, the pillar candles, and I just put them on a piece of tin.
Right, so you don't have to buy expensive heaters then?
Well, if you want to buy an expensive heater, then fine, those are even better.
Right.
But there is quite a bit of pilferage on allotments.
Okay.
And quite a lot of vandalism on occasion.
Oh,
so,
what a shame.
Candles are the cheapest form, to be honest.
Option.
Yeah.
Okay then. Well, I'm sure Stephanie will be pleased with that answer. Thank you ever so much for that, Brian. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I have.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
I hope it's done some good and lots of people come and join us on the allotments.
Well, I think it's been very interesting, and I hope it's actually given the viewers food for thought and made you think, are you brave enough to have a try and give it a go? And thank you also to Stephanie for the questions. Now, if you wish to comment of any of the points raised on the programme, you can email us at the usual address, or you can find us on Facebook or Twitter at The Weekly Wind-Up. Thank you ever so much for watching KLTV, and from the crew and the news desk, plus myself, goodbye until next week.